this week on the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. So first, we want to recognize the value of reflecting on what has already happened and understand the purpose of setting our intentions or goals for the new year. Hey Navigators, my name is Brooke Plack and I'm your host here today on the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. So you're a listener of it, so that makes you a navigator, and that's why I always start with Hey Navigators. If you're new, welcome. If it's your first time, I'm so excited you're here. And if you're returning, welcome back. We're so glad you're here to listen with us on the podcast today. So today's episode, if you're listening live, is our pre-Christmas episode. That's right. It's almost Christmas time. And so as we head into the final weeks of the holidays, we are focused on reflecting and setting new intentions for the new coming year, for 2025 in this case, or if you're listening to it in years beyond, the year that's coming up for you. So we're going to start off with two goals for this episode. So this episode is designed to get us in the mind frame of the turn of the year coming, right? So first, we want to recognize the value of reflecting on what has already happened and understand the purpose of setting our intentions or goals for the new year. And so we're going to do this in a couple different ways. I'm going to model for you being really transparent and vulnerable about my reflection for the past year, and then give you guys a charge to go and do the same in your life. So today's episode is for those looking ahead to the coming year. So first, I want to start with explaining that reflection is as much of an assessment on your past experiences as it is an assessment on your growth. So as we reflect and we think back, it's not just about what have I done, but also who have you become? Because I think that part is even more important, because it's not always what happens to us in life, but it's what we do with it or how we're able to process it and grow from that and hopefully gain wisdom. So something that we do at our dinner table at our house is we do a gratitude report. So some people may start by saying, well, what went well this year or what was hard? But in our gratitude report, we at my husband and my 7-year-old son, we do what was easy, what was fun, what was hard, and what are you thankful for? And so that's something fun to do with your family or your spouse, your significant others, your friends, or even at Thanksgiving, any other time of year. But we try to do it, a couple times a week. We don't get it in every single night, but it gives you a peek into someone's soul. So imagine sitting in front of a blank screen or a blank piece of paper and doing that in your own life and taking a minute to think about what was easy, what was hard, what was fun, and what are you most thankful for? Because I think if we skip the reflection process and jump straight into the goals, we are forgoing all of the learning that we've had from the past year. And we're missing out on some of the greatest lessons that life has to offer. And I think one of the best ways you can do this, because if I'm being honest, that blank screen with the flashing cursor can be a little bit intimidating, is to go through the camera roll on your phone. Your camera roll typically documents almost everything that happens in your life. Or if you're someone like my husband who cleans out his pictures, then your social media post. Or it could be your planner or your calendar. But flip back to January and start looking through what happened this year. There's so many moments of joy that you will be reminded of, and just little glimmers of greatness, as well as things that may be hard. Maybe you lost someone this year. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you're grieving the loss of a pet. Maybe it's been a hard season for you, but there are lessons. There is hope. There are things to be learned through that. And you have become a new version of yourself because of those things. And so it's very, very important, vital that you do this before you jump into setting goals for next year. I see so many people who say to me, Brooke, I set goals, but I never go back and look at them. Brooke, I set goals, but then I forgot about them. I mean, I've forgotten about goals before too, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I haven't. But I think the reason that mostly happens is we're not as emotionally connected and tied to those goals as we should be. And because we didn't go back and take a second to take stock of where we truly are in our journey before setting these goals, because they've got to be personal. They've got to be relevant to you. They've got to be tied to actually who you are and where you are in your journey, not just something that would be nice to have or nice to do, right? And so after we complete that reflection, then we can set our intentions or our goals as meaningful steps forward. Okay. So here's a quote by Hal Borland. He is an American writer and journalist. And he said, "The year's end is neither an end nor a beginning, but a going on with all the wisdom that experience can instill in us." Isn't that good? That is so, so good. So I'm going to share a couple little stories with you, and then I want to share with you my reflection, my real reflection. I didn't make this up, from 2024. Okay. So a couple things I do throughout the year that help with this reflection. So I started this in 2023, 2 years ago, writing myself a letter on my birthday. So my birthday is in October, so it's towards the end of the year. So I feel like I'm kind of doing the reflection, even though the year's not technically finished, but it gives you a chance to have like a benchmark of where was I this time last year? And so that's a practice you could take into the year end. Maybe you write yourself a letter every year on December 31st, and you don't open it until the next December 31st. And you're getting to talk to a previous version of yourself, of who you used to be. And that person is getting to talk to the future version of yourself. And there is something very magical that happens when those two layers or two versions of your souls get to meet for a moment in time. It's so, so special. So that's something I highly encourage you to try. And it's a gift that you can give yourself that is very exciting for me on my birthday, but you could use it for the end of the year or any other time of year that's special for you. All right. So on my reflection, okay, I'm being real transparent here, jumping out there and sharing my reflection with you in hopes that after this episode, or maybe you'll pause during the episode, that you will do the same. So don't pause and write it if you're driving, though, because lots of people listen to the podcast and drive. So be safe first. So what went well? What was fun? What was easy? What is hard? And what am I most thankful for? Okay, so that's kind of how I'm laying out my reflection. So what went well? At work, we realigned our visions of our companies, and they're set up for a very successful 2025. So we have been in a pandemic recession, like many small businesses across America. And so we have made it through those trenches and feel like that we're coming out on the other side. We made a decision to start homeschooling our son, and it's created a deeper connection with my family than I could have ever imagined. And I began working on my next business venture as a business and work-life balance coach. So those are some things that have went well in my life. What's been fun? Our travels. Oh my goodness. If you haven't followed me on social media and seen our travels, please do. It's Brooke Plack on Instagram as well as on Facebook. So we as a family went to Florida for a Disney cruise on the Wish, and then drove down through the Keys and spent time in 3 different areas of the Keys. And it was just, it was the most breathtaking, wonderful trip. And then in October, I turned 40, and my husband and I took 2 weeks and went to Asia. He turned 37 too, but I claimed it as my birthday trip, right? And spent time in Tokyo, went to Disney there, Okinawa to visit some friends, and then went to Bali and Singapore. So wonderful, wonderful experience. And when you ask me what was fun this year, that's what immediately jumps to my mind. What was easy? So working with our core team at work was easy. Working with our executive team, our leadership team was easy. Doesn't mean things were always perfect, but it's so nice to work with people that you trust enough that you're able to go through the hard times with and be able to work through those things together. And prior to homeschooling, what was easy was managing my schedule. I got in like a really awesome 10-month routine and felt like I was like smooth sailing, getting all my work done, handling all my responsibilities. And then we decided to homeschool. So when you ask what was hard, adjusting to the new homeschooling schedule, but we'll get there. It's new to us. And then also another thing that was really hard this year was budget cuts. So we had budget cuts this year, adjusting a new homeschooling schedule, and we have an angel baby. So we got pregnant this year and lost our baby in the first trimester. And so now he or she is waiting for us in heaven for eternity. So those are some things that were really, really hard for us this year. But the thing that I'm most thankful for above all other things is my connection with my family and friends. So I feel like I prioritize relationships more this year than I ever have. And that has bared fruit in my own heart and my own spirit in so many ways. And so that is for sure what I'm most thankful for this year. So there's my reflection. You can pause, rewind, come back and listen to that. Do it in a different way. You Google how to reflect online. You're going to get several different ways, but those are just easy questions that almost anyone can answer, I feel like. And so the next part is, so first we reflect and then we set our intentions for the next year. And in the next part, your intentions, I have a very clear-cut way I do this. So I don't do it any other way. It's probably going to be very difficult to ever talk me into doing it a different way, but I set 2 to 3 goals a quarter. That's it. Nothing else. 2 work, 1 personal. That's how I do it. So I do January through March, first quarter, April through June, July through September, and then October through December. Now, I may go ahead and list out some goals I think I'm going to have the rest of the year, but those change as the year goes on, and that's okay. They're my goals. They can change. But do not let yourself write down a list of 10 goals you're going to knock out on the first quarter, because you know what that's got? A big F letter on it. Fail. Okay. There's no possible way you can manage your everyday workload and focus on these things. So 2 to 3 max, 1 work, 1 personal, or 2 work, 1 personal. So that's my advice on that, on setting goals. So my question to you is, when will you schedule time to work on your reflection and goal setting? What gets scheduled gets done. So you've got to set time aside. This doesn't have to be an entire day. It doesn't have to be a whole weekend. You can break it up, but 30 minutes or an hour to reflect on on 365 days of growth and life. And then maybe set another time to work on your intentions and goals for the next year. And if you don't get to your goals before the beginning of January, no one cares. It's your life. It's never too late to get started. Okay. All right. So we have our favorite segment on the podcast, Trivia in the Trenches, before I drop a few more nuggets of wisdom and close out our episode today. This one is near and dear to my heart. What former president was a head cheerleader in high school? George W. Bush. What? I had no idea that George W. Bush was a head cheerleader. Former cheerleader here, former head cheerleader. That makes me happy. All right. So a few things to recap what we've talked about today. So first, you want to make sure you celebrate that progress. Review your accomplishments, big or small. Build your confidence in that way that you are doing things in life. Then look for your growth areas. What areas do you want to improve in? And then set those 2 to 3 intentions. Things that are meaningful and achievable, but a little bit risky. And I'm going to go against the grain here and say, this is a way better method than setting New Year's resolutions. New Year's resolutions are not going to get you anywhere. I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight. Well, what does that mean? Make sure it's very clear about what you want to do. Okay. And when do you want to do it by? That it's time keyed as well. All right. Here is our quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson to close us out today. And I want to personally wish you all well on your journey in setting your goals and intentions for 2025. If you'd like support or help or feedback, please feel free to message me on social media or shoot me an email at chat@brookeplack.com. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. Isn't that the truth? There's goodness in every day. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. Thanks for listening to the Navigating Personal Growth podcast. I'm Brooke Plack. Join me again next week on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. This podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.